Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in the show today, Malaysia Tzu Chi volunteers are distributing emergency cash and relief supplies to fire victims in Kuala Lumpur. In our new feature, Reports on the Truth Behind Fashion, we take a look at the hidden danger behind the clothing we wear. And to reach viewers around the globe, DaAi TV programming is now available for viewing on smartphones or tablet computers. In Malaysia, a fire broke out in a residential community in Kuala Lumpur, leaving 4 households homeless. Fortunately, Tzu Chi was on hand to help, bring the families much-needed clothing as well as emergency cash.
A fire in the Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, left 4 households with no place to call home. Despite the devastation, no one was home when the fire started.
Birth certificates, clothing, TV, everything our family had was destroyed in the fire.
With their homes gone, residents have no choice but to stay at a local shelter. To help during this difficult time, Tzu Chi volunteers arrived with love and aid.
We decided this time we will give each household $500. We will also bring them clothes and diapers for babies to assist them in this time of need.
I want to deeply thank you all. You have been so loving and so willing to help us. At the very least, your subsidies will help lighten our burden at this time.
In addition to subsidies and clothing, volunteers also bring along Tzu Chi's bamboo bank so the recipients can experience the joys of giving back.
I will also donate to the bamboo bank as others have helped us, so we want to help others.
Seeing hope in the midst of their suffering, these victims now have the strength to press on.
In 2011, the 3/11 earthquake devastated the northeast part of Japan, which resulted in the loss of lives for at least 20,000 people. On March 11th this year, a group of university students from the disaster areas arrived at the Tzu Chi Humanitarian Center in Taipei to express their thanks to Tzu Chi for their continuous love and care for those back home. In 2011, the 3/11 earthquake devastated many parts of Japan. There to help was Taiwan's government and various charity organizations, including Tzu Chi. Recently, a team of university students from northeast Japan arrived in Taiwan to express their thanks.
This time, our team is made up of 30 students from the disaster areas in northeast Japan, and the purpose of this trip is to visit few NGOs in Taiwan.
During their visit, these students give those in the audience an update of the lives of disaster victims back in Japan.
In Sendai City, the areas that were affected by the tsunami are back to normal. We have gathered all the debris left by the disaster at a certain area. Currently, we are slowly rebuilding facilities throughout the city.
Fukushima Prefecture is currently split into 2 areas, one that was not affected by the nuclear disaster and the restricted zone. The lives of people living in the non-affected area have returned to normal. However, those in the restricted zone are still not allowed to return home.
The Japanese government has already put in millions of dollars for reconstruction of the disaster areas. However, there are still people temporarily living elsewhere. Today, this group of Japanese students has arrived to express their thanks for the help of the Taiwanese people and also learn some valuable lessons along the way. In the aftermath of 3/11 earthquake in Japan, 4,000 Tzu Chi volunteers were mobilized to hand out consolation cash and relief supplies. To commemorate the efforts over that time, Japan Tzu Chi volunteers held a 3/11 earthquake photography exhibition in which many locals and government officials alike came to take part. 2 years ago, when the 3/11 earthquake devastated the northeast of Japan, the first meal received by the disaster victims was cooked by Tzu Chi volunteers. Seeing the pictures of the disaster, many of the visitors shed tears. Also visiting the photography exhibition was the mayor of Niigata City, who expressed amazement at the volume of Tzu Chi's good work.
The volunteers personally delivered consolation cash to the disaster victims. It gave disaster victims a chance to say thank you and strengthened their determination to move on with their lives.
To help earthquake survivors get back on their feet, in just a year, 4,000 volunteers were mobilized, bringing emotional support to more than 90,000 victims in 25 cities. Touched by the volunteers' efforts, Aibai Leko decided to become a volunteer herself.
We need to cultivate ourselves to be like Guanyin Bodhisattva and help those in need. This is something I am striving for.
Currently, there are still 7,000 residents from northeast Japan that are temporarily living in Niigata City. The 3/11 earthquake photography exhibition held by city volunteers was attended by many locals. Among the participants was former Congressman Rokuza Eimon Yoshida, who vowed to spread Tsuji's humanistic value far and wide.
I'm 76 years old, and I will do what I can to spread Tsuji's humanistic values and missions into all corners of Japan.
Thanks to the Tsuji volunteers' love from around the globe, these broken hearts have slowly regained the strength to continue their lives with courage. In Taiwan, Hualien County recently held an exercise to educate residents on the proper response in times of natural disasters. This time, the emergency response drill was held at the Shouling Township and was joined by 300 villagers.
In a drill, a trapped resident of this community sent flares to call out for help, as rescue teams sent out a helicopter to attempt an air rescue. Today, Hualien is holding its first disaster drill in Shouling Township, which was one of the worst hit areas during Typhoon Saola in 2012.
说台风也是在这边。会不会害怕？会啊。今天跑过以后如果再遇到会不会害怕？不会。
I've heard what to do to help the rescue team help me, as I'm disabled.
As the memory of Saola is still fresh in these residents' minds, over 300 community members participated in this exercise.
Today's exercise is to help all the community members to better prepare for an emergency situation, for the residents to know how to act when disasters strike, where to go, what to do.
Disaster preparedness is not only preparing community members, but also in restoring communication, electricity, water, and roads. In this way, in the aftermath of disasters, further devastation can be reduced.
According to statistics, roughly 80 billion garments are manufactured annually worldwide. Studies conducted by environmental organizations at the end of 2012 showed of the samples collected, 60% of the garments contain toxic chemicals. Let's take a look at the hidden danger behind the clothing we wear.
Each year, consumers worldwide spend over $1 trillion on clothes and shoes, which has given rise to an empire of global fashion.
搭吧，还要流行啊。
应该是当地最流行的。
那你会看它产地是从哪里来的吗？
不会耶，会看好看就好。
As we buy into the latest trends, has it ever occurred to you that the clothes we purchase contain possible toxic chemical substances that will come into direct contact with our bodies?
There are many hazardous substances that are used within textile production. It's not a question of one pollutant, it's a question of a great many. And the cocktail of pollution that creates, which are particularly persistent in the environment. They don't break down in the environment.
Behind each garment lies the horrific truth that hazardous chemicals are often left as unwanted residues from the manufacturing process and include cancer-causing aromatic amines, nonylphenol and plasticizers that break down to form hormone-disrupting or even cancer-causing chemicals. And studies by environmental organizations show that toxic residues on clothing is a problem not to be underestimated. Of the 20 brands and the 141 garments we tested, 63% contain non-niphenol residues. And it was also discovered that garments with plastic coating contain a high percentage of plasticizer residue, as high as 37%.
And in Shanghai, China, a national investigation was conducted on school uniforms prior to the start of the school year, and it was discovered that the use of azo dyes lead to cancer-causing amines.
Those who have frequent contact with benzidine are more prone to bladder cancer.
我原来是烘干工，现在是包装工了。
就这个每天身上都会有黑色吗？
现在有时间没有这么脏，有时间有一点。
As the textile industry gets more and more globalized, the amount of pollution created from its manufacturing stretches far beyond borders, affecting people across the globe.
这眼睛是黑的，嘴巴露出来的，别的地方都是红红的、黑黑的、黄黄的。
From this footage taken by an environmental organization, it is clear that the industry's pollution is endangering our ecological environment, especially along the coastal areas of mainland China, where toxic dyes and other pollutants end up in the waterways.
In a water quality survey, we discovered over 20 chemical substances, most of which are highly toxic.
But the problem of pollution within the textile industry is a very broad and complicated one. It uses a lot of water, a lot of chemicals, and produces a lot of environmental impact as a result.
When these chemicals are released into the environment, they can break down and develop hormone-disrupting properties, which interfere with animal endocrine and reproductive systems, and also reduce male reproductive ability.
It's these types of chemicals, the persistent and very toxic chemicals, and they have the ability to interfere with hormone systems, both in the aquatic environment for fish and other animals, but also ultimately through human exposure in the environment.
Approximately 7,000 kinds of chemical substances are used in textile manufacturing, and when the latest trends become last season, who can guarantee that our clothes are problem-free?
In Taiwan, students at Zhili Institution of Technologies from Banqiao of New Taipei City recently visited Taipei's Bade recycling station to learn more about the practice of sorting recyclables. Everyone found the event helpful and vowed to continue to protect the environment in the days ahead.
Recycling isn't a new concept to these college students. However, actually sitting down to sort recyclables is not such an easy task. Simply sorting plastic bottles is back-breaking to these students.
We've only been here for about an hour and already our backs ache. Some have blisters or cuts on their hands. It's hard to imagine those who do this for 8 hours a day, every day.
Sorting plastic bags is also not as easy as it sounds, as there are more steps than just separating the different types of plastic.
I sort recyclables at home, but not this detailed. Here, we have to cut out the prints and stickers so that the selling price is higher.
For these students, there's so much more than just music inside these cassette tapes.
You can see that there are 5 screws and 2 pieces of plastic in the middle, and paper parts and such.
Through sorting recyclables at the recycling station, the students from Zhili Institute of Technology are learning lessons they can't find inside textbooks, yet are applicable for life.
Moving to China, in Nanjing County of Fujian Province, Tzu Chi volunteers visited the Nanjing First Vocational School, where teachers have had troubles motivating students to study. To help, Tzu Chi volunteers encourage the teachers to incorporate Jingsi aphorisms in their lessons.
Following along with the volunteers' instruction, these teachers are all involved in the design group activity. Here at the Nanjing First Vocational School, Tzu Chi volunteers are bringing in new perspectives on education, inspiring teachers to develop new techniques to motivate their students.
As most of the students here failed in their studies and have no interest in learning, we need to have more patience in teaching and motivating them.
I will bring more Jingsi aphorisms into my class. Before, I focused more on giving lectures in order to guide them to think, but now I will let them think before I give them lectures.
Thanks to the volunteers, the teachers not only learn new techniques of teaching, but also the spirit of Tzu Ji.
The planning of the fourth nuclear power plant began some 3 decades ago, and one may wonder if the need to build the nuclear power plant still exists today. In our next report on nuclear energy, we hear from different experts regarding the fourth nuclear power plant.
Under construction for 13 years, all sorts of doubts and objections have been raised at the building of the fourth nuclear power plant. This year, a review is finally being put together to look into the needs of nuclear energy, which was once a popular method to generate power.
In the 70s, when Taiwan's economy was taking off, in addition to the fact that nuclear power plants abroad were well developed, the 10 major constructions of Taiwan included the building of Plant 1, 2, and 3. The fourth was supposed to follow accordingly, so planning began in 1980.
Over 3 decades have gone by since the planning of the fourth. However, one may question if there's still a need to build the plant.
Taiwan should break away from the excessive use of electricity, which is normally the case when the economy is growing. We should eliminate the model of having to build power plants to fulfill our economic development and search for a new model that suits our current needs.
As people nowadays are ever more reliant on electricity, the question is then, will we be able to afford natural gas energy over nuclear energy?
A natural gas power plant takes roughly a decade to build, and the cost is approximately $5.7 per kilowatt. The fourth plant works out to $2 per kilowatt and will produce a total of 20 billion kilowatts. So in total, the cost will be $0.38 more, which is 13.6% more than the current price of electricity. The decommissioning of nuclear power plants and cost of dealing with nuclear waste and other risks have not been included in the cost. Hence, we have seriously underestimated the cost of nuclear energy.
With no reasonable estimate on the current cost of electricity, what we think is cheap electricity may not be all that cheap after all. After the 3/11 calamity in Japan 2 years ago, the Fukushima nuclear disaster gave rise to safety concerns regarding nuclear energy around the globe. Citizens of Taiwan began to worry whether a similar situation could happen right here at home.
The seismic intensity of the fourth plant is being designed 26 meters underground with a capability of 0.4 G. It means at the ground level of the plant, it can absorb up to 0.66 G. A recent study by the National Science Council indicates that if a tsunami was to occur at the Longmen area, it would only reach 3.4 meters. If our plant is sitting at 12 meters above ground, then we should be able to withstand any tsunami. In Taiwan, you say you are able to handle tsunami with a 12 meters high wave, but what if it turns out to be 15 meters or even 18 meters instead?
Undersea volcanoes are found within 20 kilometers of both North and South Taiwan, and with no consensus from scholars on the possible height of tsunamis. A professor from National Taiwan Ocean University who studies quake disasters says that it is difficult to come to a conclusion of the damage nuclear energy might bring.
You see, the nuclear disasters around the globe all happen under unexpected situations, so when the next disaster is going to happen or how it is to occur, no one really knows.
Is there only one solution to maintaining a sustainable environment while ensuring the growth of our economy? In fact, nuclear energy only accounts for 1/5 of Taiwan's generated power. If we all reduce our use of electricity and live a low-carbon life, we will no longer have to worry over the ever-increasing cost of electricity, nor live in shadow of what nuclear energy might do to our future generations.
As technologies continues to advance, DaAi TV does not shy away from modernization. In an effort to reach more audience members on the go, DaAi TV programming is now available for viewing on one's smartphones or tablet computer.
This is a smartphone. This is a tablet computer. No matter which device you prefer, now with the assistance of the internet, TV programming is at your fingertips. In breaking with traditional methods of watching TV programming, watching shows on your smartphone or tablet computers is also available. With the assistance of an app and the internet, TV programming is no longer limited to just your television.
Our programming is very inspiring and strikes deep chords in viewers, especially in such a complicated society. DaAi programming is something everyone should come in contact with.
High-definition quality video is now available on mobile technology. Once you download the app Octoshape, press the information button on the top right corner, turn on Playlist ID, type in DaAi TV, and you will be able to stream DaAi TV and DaAi Radio Internet. However, currently the DaAi 2 HD channel is only available in Taiwan regions.
We are doing a test run right now, so we hope audience members can watch for longer periods of time. This way we can determine if the new system is stable or not, so when we roll it out to the general public, it won't disappoint.
In this ever-changing technological world, DaAi TV is embracing new technology to ensure its programming reaches an ever broader audience.
Since 1998, Tzu Chi volunteers have regularly shown up to clean up the surrounding area of the Banqiao station. This time around, volunteer Cho Yu-ying brought her grandson alone as the two spent the day together protecting the environment.
At the bustling Banqiao station, where a group of people have devoted themselves to cleaning up the streets for 15 years. Carefully picking up the garbage hiding in the bushes are Tzu Chi volunteers, as they have passed on the mission from generations to generations.
Master Zheng Yan often says we have to educate our children at a young age. So I brought my grandson along to show him how to keep the environment clean and let him know the importance of environmental protection.
Following a day of devotion, Tzu Chi volunteers, young and old, not only safeguarded the earth, but also created a comfortable living environment for members of the public.
We stay in Taiwan at the end of the show. Tzu Chi volunteers at the Jingpu recycling station in New Taipei City recently purchased a new truck for transporting recyclables as the old 16-year-old recycling truck has worn out. The volunteers hope with this new truck they can collect even more recyclables. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.